Instructions for Perflex Pure for injection molding using the SmartPress 101-400 for crown and bridge applications. Pour and prepare dies as for any standard crown and bridge case. Fabricate wax patterns using accepted procedures. Copings should be about 1 mm thick for complete injection. Patterns can be thinned further during the finishing steps. Weigh the patterns with sprues attached to determine the amount of Perflex Pure required for complete injection. Place sprues on patterns as for casting. The sprue length should be a maximum of 2 to 3 mm. Use 4-gauge or 6-gauge sprue wax. Investing the bottom half of the flask. Lubricate the inside of the flask with a thin coat of lubricant, Lubrigel. Fill the bottom half of the flask with Type 3 stone, creating a flat surface about equal to the height of the flask. When the stone has set, create a sprue channel by placing a 4 mm wax wire on the flat surface, with one end placed in the opening of the flask. Attach wax patterns to the sprue channel by placing the patterns at right angles to the flat surface. By placing patterns in this manner, the risk of trapping bubbles when completing the investing process is reduced. When you are confident that there is an adequate seal to the sprue channel for the attached patterns, prepare the upper half of the flask for investing by painting a thin coat of Lubrigel on the inside of the flask and on the stone surface for investment release. Make sure there is no stone on the flask surfaces that might prevent complete closure. Close the flask with the 4 screws to be certain that the flask closes completely. Fill the injection hole with enough wax to seal the opening, to prevent an outflow of stone. To complete investing, mix stone, Type 4 dye stone, for the upper half. Do not use debubblizer on patterns. Begin the investing process by gently filling the wax patterns with dye stone. The flask will not be reopened until the injection process is complete. Finish filling the flask with the remainder of the Type 4 dye stone. To prepare the flask for injection, after the second half of the flask has achieved a complete set, place the flask in boiling water for 15 minutes without opening it. Remove from the boiling water and pour boiling water into injection flask sprue hole to remove wax from the mold. Rinse the flask thoroughly 3 to 4 times to ensure complete wax removal. Place the flask in the burnout oven at 350 degrees Celsius, sprue hole down, for a minimum of 15 minutes. While the flask is in the preheating oven, prepare the Smart 101-400 injection machine. Set the temperature on the Smart machine to 420 degrees Celsius. Upon reaching this temperature, start the melting cycle by setting the melt time for 25 minutes and 9.5 bar. While the Smart machine is preheating, prepare a cartridge for injection. Fill the cartridge with the desired amount of Perflex Pure. Close and seal the aluminum cartridge and lubricate the cartridge with Lubrigel. When the Smart 101-400 injector reaches 420 degrees Celsius, insert the cartridge in the machine and close the cover. Set the external timer for 25 minutes. 3 minutes prior to injecting, after an elapsed time of 22 minutes, open the cover and, using heat-resistant gloves, place the flask in the Smart 101-400. Tighten the flask position holder gently to prevent the flask from moving during injection. Close the cover, and when the timer sounds, press the green button to inject. After injection, allow the injector to cool while maintaining pressure for 10 minutes. Press the green button again to retract the piston. With the cover still closed, loosen the flask position holder and press the green button again to eject the flask. Press the green button to retract the piston, open the cover, and remove the flask. Close the cover and press the green button again to present the piston surface. Open the cold flask and use a hammer gently to remove the dye stone surrounding the units. Sandblast the copings with 50 micron AiO2 to remove the last vestiges of stone. Fit to dies and prepare for composite application by sandblasting lightly again. After sandblasting in preparation for composite application. To fabricate a completed restoration with composite, the following steps are suggested. Use a composite bonder according to the manufacturer's recommendations, painting a thin coat of bonder on all sandblasted surfaces to receive composite. Cure this coat per directions. Then paint a thin first coat of opaque on the bonder layer and cure. A second coat of opaque is recommended. Cure all materials according to the manufacturer's instructions before beginning to build up composite resin. Build up the composite of your choice. Use aesthetic layering techniques to create a lifelike restoration. Cure each layer per the manufacturer's recommendations. Use an oxygen inhibitor on the final layer. Avoid touching the composite layers as you build up your restoration. We use a small sprue placed on the lingual of the restoration as a handle. This is only one suggested method for handling copings. You can use whatever method you are comfortable with.